If it's not tomorrow or the next, remember it's still there until August 2nd. I'll tell you a little bit about Stewart and then I'll let him take over. How does that sound?
Good.
Okay. Stewart White is always busy painting, doing plein air, or painting in the studio. As a carpenter of many years, his interest found the perfect balance between art and architecture, as he became a career in architectural illustration. His skill in oil, ink tempera, and watercolors have garnered many awards, including several of the country's most prestigious plein air competitions. Stewart is past president of the Mid-Atlantic Plein Air Painters Association, a member of the American Impressionist Society, and signature member of the American Watercolor Society and the National Watercolor Society. On behalf of TWSA, please welcome Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank all of you for coming out here. Who's local in Kenosha? Okay. Oh, great. So a lot of people came from a long distance. Thank you for that introduction. It's a real pleasure to be here. I love this town, and this is a wonderful facility that we're here. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. Good. All right. As you said in the introduction, I have an architectural background, and one of the things I love to paint is architecture, which is what I'm going to demo here today. And I'm going to go through a couple of principles and things that you might be helpful. I'm hoping to be helpful. Is everybody here somewhat experienced painter, or not at all, or just curious? Painter? Yeah. Painter, okay. Painters, okay. So I don't want to say obvious stuff. So that's why I ask. Well, maybe we just get to know each other, go around the room and introduce. I'm glad you laughed, because it was a real surprise and an honor to be asked to jury the show that was happening, I think 4 or 5 years ago, because they really look ahead at the Transparent Watercolor Society of America. I'm not certain how my name even got in the hat, except that somebody might have heard that Stewart's a very judgmental person, and then it just got lost in translation. So I'm in here. I do have, it's true, I'm very judgmental. It's something it's hard to shake, but you're human. Everybody has it, right? Can't keep from doing it. We have a thing in architecture. We in architecture school learned how to make a critique. And part of the rules of critique was it's personal. Whatever anybody does or what they put up, it's not personal. The art of critique was to be able to evaluate, observe, and intelligently bring everything together in some sort of cohesive whole. And if something was missing in a presentation, you have a sort of obligation and actually a love for the craft to say something. And so in judging on art contests, something like that, I do exactly that. I try to bring everything I know about design, composition, color, painting, and bring it in. And I'm still sure that I'm missing somebody's efforts. So if you get a rejection, which you do all the time, is that it means nothing. It absolutely means nothing. It's just somebody's either wasn't seeing what you were working on, or you probably could work on something else yourself. And so, that's my thoughts on art criticism. I should get started, because y'all know you don't want to sit here and listen to somebody talk. And I think this is a great setup, so you'll hope to show you a lot of painting and what we're doing. Thank you. Excellent assistance here. Okay, I made a few notes, and if you're into taking notes, I want to get this out of the way, and then the rest will just be painting and entertainment. Okay, so if there are some basic picture guidelines for making a picture, and what is let me do a little introduction. I love to travel. Is anybody going abroad or traveling somewhere special this summer? Ryan, got that? Great. I love it. And I take pictures like everybody else, but what I really like to do is set up a small sketchbook, sit on the side of a fountain, and sketch and draw. And what I find happens is just magical. People from whatever country or whatever language come around, they want to see what you're doing, they want to talk to you, they want to see if it's for sale, they want to do, it's just an open door to meeting other people. So I really consider painting as like your passport to other things. And who knows, you may end up at a party later on, and this wouldn't happen otherwise. So anyway, when I'm traveling, I'm looking for things. But I'm also trying to learn about things. So the first thing I want to think about is, why do I want to paint this? What's my reason for painting something? What caught my eyes? So I try to think what that is. In most cases, it's one thing. What is that? Light. Somebody said it. Right. That is the main thing that catches your eye, is the light. And then I think too of sometimes, maybe history, maybe there is a narrative, and maybe it's usually color relationships. And I see those. Now I have a reason. That's a focus. Okay, the next one is for a basic guideline is, what's the absolute essence of what I want to paint? So I have an example here of a park in Madrid, and this is Retiro Park, and a beautiful place, pretty monumental, rowing pond. There's turtles in there, there's ducks, everything. What I thought was the sun was getting, it was late afternoon, people start to gather here up on the steps. Maybe they brought something to eat, maybe a bottle of wine or something. Anyway, it's a pleasant scene. But what caught my eye was, first of all, the warmth on that stone. So I want to keep that in mind when I'm painting this, is like getting that warmth. And I say, keep going back to that if I lose my way with all the details. So what do I want to understand about my subject? What do I have to understand about this? Well, I don't need to understand the architect, who it was, what this is all about. All I really need to understand is that this is a heroic monument. This is a pleasant arcade of columns. And then I have this artistic challenge. How do I portray all this little stuff in a way that makes sense, but it doesn't take me forever and a tiny little brush to do it? So that's my imposed problem to solve, is how to do that effectively. Then I ask myself, well, what are the minimal elements that I need to get this point across? So do I need all of those boats? No, not necessarily. Do I need all of those trees? Not necessarily. So those are the kind of questions like, do I need to use these colors? It is a blue sky, it is a green tree, but do I need to use those? And I see this in a lot of painting exhibitions or competitions, is the blue sky is there and the green is there. Well, what's the trouble with blue and green? Is that those colors are, anybody know? They're analogous. They're right next to each other on the color wheel. So in other words, they actually sort of borrow energy from each other. They don't set each other off. They sort of belong in, they're cousins of each other. So I would want to think about, how am I going to paint? Should I paint the trees a different color? Should I leave the sky, make it gray? Those are my options. Just for example. And then how can I rearrange things that are necessary to get my intent across? Well, I don't want to rearrange this. This is a strong form, and I want to stay true to the architecture to some extent. And so I need to look at like these proportions, so they're somewhat close. But I also want to think about like, well, maybe this tree is a nice counterbalance to this, but maybe I don't need all this framing up here. Maybe I can just, take some of those trees down if it helps me. If it doesn't help me, just leave them where they are. So why would I want to take any of the trees down? Well, I'll tell you, one of the reasons is that there's sort of a static repetition in design that's happening here. This line sort of uniform right across there. It's equidistant to this. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, but it could be better. I could, cut that off. Take that out, and it becomes more dynamic, and it doesn't compete with that strong horizontal there. Everybody follow so far? Okay, good. Okay, so those are some of the things I can rearrange. All right, so with this plan in mind, I have now do a drawing, study my values. And values are like, what are the lightest and darkest areas, and where do I want to keep those? So, and the other is the competition, that I have some direction for your eye to go. Well, this is going to be, your eye is going to go where all the energy is, right here. That's where all the gold light is. That's going to attract your focus. You don't have to zigzag into it. I could arrange boats a certain way, but that's not necessary because this is enough power right there. But one question I would ask myself, because I'm dealing with watercolor, and it's the best medium of all. It has the best colors, and I want to ask how can color make an impact in this? Well, I have to say, well, what's going to set off the gold? That's my first question. And it would probably be like lavenders, things like that, that kind of family. So I have to think about, well, where can I introduce that? Well, I can introduce it in the shadows. I can bring it down in here, maybe touch it up in the water, but certainly in the boats, that'll lead in. And so that'll reinforce my focus. And a final point is, what can I do with my edges? A lot of paintings in watercolor get very static because you have a certain paint by number approach to painting, and every edge is exactly the same as the edge next to it. But in watercolor, we have a ton of variety that as the illustrator of your painting, you get to decide, okay, here I need the brass, I need the violins over here, I need drums over here. I need to bring all this into a harmonious whole. And that's what edges will do for you. Okay, so I'm going to just do a couple of edges that I like to say what I have to work with. What we get, like very, very rough to very, very smooth blending. And word to the wise, if you ever load up your palette the morning of your demo, make sure the stuff sort of hardens a little bit. Otherwise, everyone sort of slips around all over the place with that stuff. So, but all you guys deserve fresh paint. So that's what I was going to do. All right, so here we go. This is so cool. I like this. We bring that down, and it's hardly dark enough, but while I'm doing this, I want to talk a little bit about equipment. And here we go. Is you've got paper. Paper is the most important thing. It's beautiful to work on. I've been working on some other surfaces, watercolor canvas and things like that, but there's nothing compares to good watercolor paper. So if you're going to put some money into something, well, you got to put it into paper. You should put some into paint, and you can get by without really, really expensive brushes. But I have a few expensive brushes, and if I added up the money I've spent on brushes, I could get one of those really top-of-the-line palettes instead of this little thing, which has lasted me 30 years so far. So this is a bleed. It goes from more intense to toned out. This is something that I think is great to use, but timing is very important in your gravity. You can't just keep going back and messing with it. You lay it down and leave it alone. But while it's still damp, you can lay in. It's coming around. Okay, yeah, that's popping out right there. You know, you can lay in some pigment, and if you don't have too much water in your brush, it'll start to spread out. If you got too much water, what's going to happen? Right, it's going to sort of push it. Right, there's a lot of water. You'll start pushing other pigments out in front of it. So think about pigment as you're hosing leaves off your driveway, okay? And so as you're hosing it, all those leaves start to gather up in little bunches. That's what the pigment's doing. And so you can see that white streak in there. That may not be something you want. So timing is really important on all this. That is one of many edges. This is not an expensive brush. Lowe's, fine art supply place. But I'm gonna need some kind of crisp edges to get that stone. So let me get this. Instead of taking your tool, dipping it and putting it in the water here, it's good to sort of feel that you can control how much moisture you have. So, squeeze out stuff. Yeah, so you get this really nice ragged stuff in there. You can barely see that, but so I want to make it more pronounced. So those things you can't reproduce that with a tiny brush in 1,000 years. That'll never be better than that. Just the way that crispness comes out. So you got from soft to very, very crisp. You can you can sort of make pointillism things if you wanted to. You found some reason to do that. I'm a big fan of shaving, so you can use if you see one of these in a yard sale, they're not cheap, but I see them all the time. So that makes certain marks. You can even use these for washes. It holds a lot. It's a beautiful tool to have. If you say, well, Stewart, that's just a gimmick. And you're partly right. But it is, you could get in there and you start doing stuff with it. And as you come out, this material is just deserving of years and years of playing around with it, because I never get tired of it. Okay. Speaking of getting tired of things, you're probably getting tired of me talking, so let me start this demo. And let's see what I can do here. I'm gonna take a graded wash. I want this to be a little darker, and I want it to grade out to just a pale gray here. This I want to be like a more of a golden green to my initial sketch, which is about like 6 by 9 inches, was like this. And I say, well, that's no good to run out of room on your sketch, so let's adjust for that. I strongly encourage, when you travel, take a little sketchbook and make little notes of things that you're going to do, pencil drawings, and this way it helps you to just plan ahead on that. This is a new one, so I have a lot to show you there. Okay, so then I like the way this kind of bleeds into that and bleeds into that. I don't need to see that edge stops there. There's something about leaving things to the imagination that go a long, long way, to not just say, my brain says that line continues, so it should be a different color. But my eyes say, that's nicer, let's do that. And then same thing here, I want to bring in some violet tones to set this off. I didn't like this sort of I don't know what your fleshy color here. I want to go more golden on that. So that'll be my challenge, as I said ahead of time, is try to make that a warm, inviting gold. What else we got here? Okay, this I want to move over a little bit and maybe leave a few of these things in here. And then the other big thing is, how do I deal with all these reflections? And you can see it's broken up into millions of little pixels, if you will. And I don't want to get in there with a little brush and be doing this for hour after hour just to get that right. So I need to find some sort of shorthand that can handle that, do that effect somewhat effectively, but doesn't take away from my main idea. You know how you get into a painting, suddenly you're like in one corner, and then you're back in another corner and another, and you've sort of lost your way on what it was you were trying to paint to begin with. So you have to kind of keep coming back to that. All right, now I have a composition, I have a strategy. Quit stalling and get to work. Okay. Are there any questions so far you have for me? It's probably a good time. Yes?
What was the paper that you did the first demos on, the wing and the brand?
That's a good question. This is Saunders Waterford's 200, and it's cold press. Yeah. Great stuff. There's a couple of good papers. This is a pad of Valhong. I think you can get it. It's really nice. It's got a nice little grain to it, stony look to it. What's another? Some are not so good, but this is being recorded, so I can't say, right? Bad companies. Yeah. Well, you just experiment with lots of different papers. I've found people sometimes send me paper, and it's like Wattman, and it's already like 50 years old. And say, oh, this is something. They're gone out of business. It's great, and it's terrible. It's gone through some mildew or who knows. But it's like trying to paint on Bounty. You know, it's really, really difficult. So anyway, these are good papers. And brushes, I talked about that, but I collect a lot. Flats, things with chisel ends, you scrape those, I'll be using those. Industrial brushes, and like toothpicks at a party that are stuck in the hors d'oeuvres, use those for doing certain things, your branches. And that's it. Paint. My palette changes all the time. So I say, what color do you use for that? What do you use for that? There's so many colors out there. And I could just for a basic guideline for your palette is have warm red and cool red, warm yellow and cool yellow, and warm blue and a cool blue. And then I have a couple of browns, and some of these new browns that they're making. There's just this called Aussie Red Gold.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I do have a violet. I could mix that, but I do like this when it dries, and I paint kind of upright like this. When it dries at the bottom and pools, that paint gets a sort of a velvety color, and the pigment that they use in the violets, and there's several violets out there, just does this really nice thing. And so that brings me to the point. The reason I think you paint in watercolor is to celebrate the material, watercolor. Pigment ground up in gum arabic or honey or glycerin and on a beautiful paper, and that is its own virtue. You can't force it to be a photograph, you can't force it to be an oil painting, just use an oil painting. if you wanted a certain detail, like in botanical illustration, I think it's beautiful for that because it handles really well. You know, it dries immediately. But for really my approach to watercolor is to listen to what the paint wants to do, and then find ways to employ it that way. All right. Okay, first thing to do is I'm going to start. Can you, if I tilt it, is that going to work?
Yeah.
It's like that? Good. All right. Okay, things that I want to be sure that I don't paint over areas that I want to keep light. So I'm not really using a lot of. I don't use Frisket when I'm out traveling because it's a mess, and but I will do this. Does anybody have any questions, say, on drawing? Or drawing architecture? Well, I'm going to say something about it. If you don't have a question, sometimes it's hard to see, like, how tall is something and what sort of proportion. And if you take like a line and say, okay, if that's the line between this horizontal and that, you can try to find those points, and that'll get you going. The other say, how tall is that pillar part? You know, how tall is that? Well, you can do several things. You can kind of measure how long that is and go up that way. What I like to do is find out how many, there we go, is how I can see what a square looks like. That's the front of it, of that. And I put another square, another square, and half a square. So it's 3.5 squares up. And that, I can always spot squares. And I kind of, like a certain window, if it's somewhere, I say, well, that's not a square, but, and that's not a square, but it's a little bit less than a square, and then the whole thing is not a square, so it's like maybe 1.5. So then I pretty much got that proportion. And that helps too as well. All right, so I got that. I'm going to do a wash, and I can't talk and do that at the same time. So I'm going to just.
You want a piece of light?
If anybody knows any dad jokes or something, now's the time to get them out. And what did I say about things I can do to enhance that gold color? So try to bring out some violets with sky. This is actually a very nice blue, but I'm not going to work with that. I'm going to try to have something that's got a little bit of this lavender color in there. I'm an ambassador for Holbein paints, so if you ever see somebody from Holbein say, Stewart sent me. There's a lot of good paints out there, but I like the consistency of Holbein. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, that didn't take much time. So it was really like, you don't want to mess with it too much. Just get in there and like I said, the paint just starts giving you things that maybe you didn't think of, but you say, well, that's not bad. I'm kind of like work with that. Okay. Now, let's say the point right now is I got that done. Let's just start doing all the big moves. And a move in architectural terms is any direction that you shift off from where you're going. So this is going to be the tree moves right now. And I am... So I'm just using like yellow ochre and some other just warm colors, burnt orange, but that's not what I'm going to end up with, because the beauty of watercolor is that while the paint's still wet, you have lots of time to make changes and do things. So I'm going to take some blues and sort of have them mix in with the wet paint, so I don't have to actually mix up a thing here. That coming across? Okay. I wish you could be doing this with me. It is so much fun. Okay, so I don't want to, this is a good opportunity to, well, I've got all this nice dark paint coming down in here. This is going to stay wet for a little while, so I don't have to do anything there. But just to like sort of indicate that there's people out here on this patio, and going to make some connections into this. I think that's a bronze sculpture there. And now, while I'm doing this, I'm kind of remembering that the day I was there and what the weather was like, and it all comes back to me. This the beauty of painting outdoors. So I have this like really nice shadow right in here. There's detail inside that shadow, but I haven't drawn anything in here yet. So, but I'm going to go ahead and let kind of work that in. Or should I wait for a second? I'm just going to drag a little bit of this down and leave it there, because I think I want to get that gold color in before I start putting the shadows, or I will regret it. You know, why will I regret it? Because I'll be putting this light wash over something that's got more pigment, it's darker, and it'll start to bleed in a way that I don't think I'm going to like. So that's why I'm doing that. So I'll get all this stuff out of the way.
What was that tape you used?
The tape?
Yeah, what is that?
It's a very good question. This is it's called Pro tape, and it is made by 3M, and it's a drafting tape, not a masking tape. So it doesn't pick up your paper, you know. This is good paper. Most tapes are not going to hurt it, but God, don't you hate it when you pull it up and you tear the surface of the paper? Anyway. Okay, now I need the gold color, and there are certain things that I want to keep, like these edges. I want them to stay sharp. I want little things to happen, and I don't want them bleeding. So let me just. All right, I think I got something here. Okay, all these little gaps in here, I don't need to worry about painting all these columns. I'm just gonna paint that whole thing this shape because those gaps will be, they're darker than what I'm painting and I'll be able to put those in later. You get just a nice soft edge right there when you meet that. And do it on time, is it?
20 to 3.
Okay. He says, picking up his pace. Okay, because we got that crowd to paint, and that's going to be it'll be fun. But we've got a lot to cover here, or else you won't learn a thing. Now this is kind of a pale orange, and this has a real acid yellow. It's basically from the printer. You know, I may decide, well, I think I like this right here. I think just for the hell of it, I'm gonna kind of put a cool tone right across the bottom, just to ground it. And what I also like about doing that with any building is to put a kind of cool tone, because of like earth dust sort of builds up over time along the bottom of buildings. And so it kind of grounds the whole structure. And there we go. All right, let's come along. Now, while I've got this mixture, I might as well lay down the steps where everybody's sitting. And I'm using like a cadmium yellow orange for the warmth yellows, and cadmium orange is a great color. And I like this Jaune Brilliant #2. It's really good for sidewalks. It's just a nice pale color without being too yellowy or too orangey. Same with burnt sienna light, diluted, is a really very beautiful warm. If you just want a light pale warmth on something, do that. Yellow ochre. Get this, it's a yellow that's got a long chemical name to it, but the letters DAZ are in it, so I just call it Dazzle Yellow. So by rushing over this thing real quick and doing this, you're leaving little sparkle air holes, and those can be something later, and you can paint over them later if you don't like them. But I think it's just a good preventive thing to give yourself opportunities later. And there, we're going to leave some. We're going to leave some white for people wearing white shirts and things like that. There, I'm not sure how that happened, but it came from nowhere. One of my brushes is.
There was a question in the background. question from,
Yeah. I have,
Oh, yeah.
Is there a reason you've left like some distinctive white areas, like between the trees and whatnot, like,
There?
yeah?
I know, that's probably bothering you, right? No, there wasn't a real reason except I wanted to bring the sky down in there. But it's plain paper. So it might be a good idea to tone that down a little bit. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. So. Now there is going to be, these are wet and wet blobs right now. It's not trees, it's not leaves, it's not the character of those leaves. So I'm not leaving it like that. But while it's still a little bit moist, I want to create volume to those trees. If there's sunlight coming from some direction, and then there's a shade side to it. So, but you know how you look at clouds and you see things? Right, same thing, look at that and say, well, what do I see? I said, well, that's a bit of foliage that's capturing the light. So I want to maybe reinforce that. And so I'm establishing that light is, coming over my left shoulder. Is that true? Yes, it is, because I've got that shadow there. And so it's starting to look better now, right? So take your cheap calligraphy brush, it costs $1 anywhere, and then, feather out some things. I guess so it makes it look more intentional. That it's not just a lot of bleed, a lot of wet and wet, which you can overdo because it's such a seductive looking technique. Okay. All right. I like the way the sky turned out. So at this point, it's still damp. Once it gets really bone dry, if you feel like you want to go darker, do it the next day, because that stuff really has to get set in. You don't want to disturb the pigments. You want to get that smoothness in there. Do it the next day and do it fast. Do it with one wash. All right. I'm going to leave some of this for right now. I want to get into how do you handle crowds. I like to think of a crowd as a single organism, not lots of little individuals. That this is basically they're all grouped together, and that's sort of a natural human thing to do. They all wear different clothes. They're all individuals, of course, but I like the way the groupings are. But we don't want to place them in some sort of arbitrary way. Have a plan. So I kind of take, I try to see like alphabetical letters in a crowd and say, well, here's a C. And so then I'll indicate figures in a C shape. And then I'll see like, well, here's an A.
Is that pencil going to become part of the finished painting?
Unfortunately, yes, it is. I'm glad you asked that question. I'm glad because the drawing is part of the painting. So having a drawing style that is like nice to look at. Now, what do I mean by that? It's got a little thick, a little thin in the lines. It's got some expression. If it's just a lot of like hesitant scratches that kind of move around something, it'll be too distracting. And if it's too heavy, it'd be too distracting. But if I like seeing lines in watercolors a lot of times. If it's a good drawing, it'll be all right. Okay, and then these are like big fat L of people. And now I have a plan. Okay. This is a super cheap Princeton pointed filbert, really well worn, but it's perfect for doing these sort of things of like a calligraphy of people.
And what color is that you're using there?
I think it's sepia. Sepia. And I'll do a manageable size group. Don't have to do all of them right now. Then I'll take a little vermilion for like pop, and then kind of an orange. And not really thinking about what these are at this point, but it's just sort of a shorthand for what all that stuff is. Okay. But just like we did for the trees, I'll start to look down here and say, oh, is there people in there? I mean, I think I see a figure. You just start to enhance that a little bit. And I was like, oh, there's a white shirt. I might have to keep that. And so all you had to do kind of with this is just make your marks in scale, like that. You don't have big marks. You just have little tiny marks that keep them all together in scale. And you can go get into that as much as you want, as far as how you see things. If everything starts bleeding together, then stop. Let that set up a bit. Okay, this is still pretty wet in here. I don't like that blue because that's going to dry really, really strong. It'll be like I just want to just knock that down with a little rose color. Ordinarily, if I'm not doing a demo, I would proceed a certain pace, but I want to cover as much with this as I can for your benefit, not for mine. It's just I want you to get as much out of this as you can. Here's this guy. I don't know who he is. And he did something with a horse and a sword. That's all I know. And now I've got this shape in here that is almost like a stamp of something. So I don't like that. So let's break it up with some turquoise color and something else warmer. It just makes it more interesting, and because this isn't really about that statue. Okay. All right. Now, how do you do all those columns right there? That would drive you nuts, right? So. Put a line down the center, put a line down the center of that, put a line down the center of that, and put a line in the center of those. Then you just start building your columns from that. Now there's two rows of columns as far as I can tell, and they come around in an arch, so they're not stacking behind each other. I don't think it's going to be that important to get that exactly right. I do think that in the front row, that you do I have no idea where that came from. You do a rhythm of soldiers, and that is these columns here. Okay. And if you just kind of indicate, it's okay, but it's better if you have them somewhat in a rhythm. It's kind of true to the architecture. It feels balanced, it feels harmonious, and you don't say, oh, you were just lazy and you just kind of knocked out a whole bunch of columns. So, got that in there. And I'm just going to take a warm, dirty violet, and so there's put one shadow line along these because they're falling on a column behind it. And then I'm gonna then this is going to be a little bit bigger. I have to apologize, but I can spot a leaf like 100 yards away on top of a tree, but something this far away, it's like getting blurry. I hate that. There's that cool stroke that I put in there. It kind of came up and created this thing. It makes the columns look really, really nice that way. And when you look at them really close. Now the columns are certain to read. Okay. I kind of lost this bit, which is sort of a bookend to these two embracing arches, or not arches, but colonnades. And so, being that I'm doing a demo for the Transparent Watercolor Society of America, I will not use white paint. Okay. In fact, I scraped it all out of my thing here to make sure it wasn't spotted with it. White paint's fine, but if you're gonna do it, be very, don't use a lot of it, and just in small pieces. So I have to go with lifting. While it's still somewhat wet, I can do that, but it's not like you're ever gonna get back to pure paper, which is what you may want, but not a big deal because this is the big deal, that's the big deal, that's just a detail. Okay. Speaking of details, let's just take a little bit of that warm tone and then start just getting the general picture. And you don't need to understand what all that stuff is. It's just like, I need some sort of indication that there's some carving up here. Because meanwhile, the sun is setting, getting lower, and you're losing it, and you kind of want to rush through this, which I think helps. Okay, I want to make this pop a little more because it's. So you could use neutral tint to darken things, but I generally like to use complements of colors. Now, when I put this in there, there's some really nice things going on here, but I need to get some of that is pushed back. And I've got all these little tiny hairs. It came from when I
Shading brush?
yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's like a new brush that I used when I started this. Is that what you might try doing when you wet your paper ahead of time is rinse your brush out really well, get all those little manufacturing things out of here. And then the other one is like take some lemon yellow, take some cyan, and take some magenta, color pink, and just put them on the paper while you're doing the wash and let that kind of move around. And this is a little trick that I think artist Pike, Tom Pike, John Pike. He has a really heavy palette in his name. But anyway, the reason I'm doing it is that the air actually has little prismatic things of rainbows in them all the year. So by doing that, you're creating, you're knocking down all the white paper, and you're also creating this sort of effect. It may not be noticeable, but I did it over that, so there's pale yellow, pink, and blue throughout the whole painting. It works same principle as a photograph. So. All right, the next thing we need to know is how to do you've got all this, got all that. All of this can be kind of worked on. What's the time right now?
3.
3?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. We got, what, 20 more minutes? Okay. Should be enough. All right. So, this is my strongest. This is going to be my strongest thing of getting that in there first. Hard to bring that in later, but we'll see what we can do here. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
All right. So you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. Okay, not a whole lot I could do right now because it's pretty wet, but let that go for a minute. And it's like, let me go back into this.
Is that blue? Are you using blue?
Is it blue?
Is he using blue on that streets now?
No, it's kind of a blue green that I was trying to get some of that value and that kind of chroma. So now we have setting shadows coming from somewhere. So I'm going to put those on these steps and mix it in with the crowd here a little bit, and kind of make that that sort of fuses in with the water, so I don't look like I have two paintings kind of thing. And then I'll just a few more. So this is that lavender and cobalt mix. This really cool tool for doing straight lines. I think it's in my bag way over there. But if you don't have that, Just using a big flat really helps. We have these columns down here on the side, so. There we go. Is it hot in here? Or is it just these lights? So there's a lot of little carving and things like this. You just indicate something there. Don't get into too much detail, or just like, because you'll start killing the tones. So this is not looking like it belongs to this, so that's where you got to make adjustments, is come in here and bring something of that into here and vice versa. Better. I think that this is
Do you get to a point where you stop looking at the photograph and just do work the painting with what would look best?
Yeah.
on the painting?
Yeah, you're right. Yes. Don't need that. Thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah, now you're dealing with this, and it has its own rules and everything else, so. Oh, but how to paint a boat. So we'll have to. This is a little damp right now, so I'm gonna. Okay, at this point, this is going to dry a little bit. What I want to do with is that as we get closer down here, it's probably about ready, is that you can start to create some of that horizontal thing, but it's just like a part where you have to kind of listen to see how much bleeding is going on, and if it's too much, just stop for a bit, and in a couple more minutes, go back and check it out. That's just too wet. Things I would want to do is to continue with this entourage, the boats and people, and then step back and say, well, what was my original intent? What was I trying to do with this painting? Because I've got textures that I got involved in. I've got different washes going on. Somewhere in here, I got to wrap it up and bring it all together. And so, at a certain point, I would say, what's conflicting with what I'm doing? This is okay. It's not great. I think I would probably, refer to the references again and try to put a little bit more of the detail in there, because this is a real heroic piece of sculpture. And then there's scattered lions and bronzes all over the place. Put those in there. And then, then I'd start to populate different parts of it, and just try to think to myself, like, it's a sunny afternoon in a park in Madrid, and people are out, and they're enjoying each other and everybody's company, and try to get that mood in there somehow, and try to find out what's working and what's not. And that's just an evaluation of, like, stepping back and letting it cook for a little while. If I was Julia Childs, I would bring out a finished painting right now, and you would see what it was. But I'm not doing that. Maybe I could answer some questions right now while this is settling up. But we're actually probably pretty close to the end of the demo, right?
Is that 140 coat press you're working on, that block? Is it 140, that block you're working on?
The black?
The block, the block.
Paper is 140?
Is it 140 coat press?
Oh, yeah, that's the block. Yeah, it's 140.
It's 318 to be exact.
Well, thanks. I think and when you're working on, if you're working outside, you're traveling, I like to just stick with something like this. And you don't need all of this. You just have a couple of colors and you get the idea. But those are the principles that I'm working with, is trying to catch the spirit of the thing.
What kind of palette do you use for outdoors in your sketchbook? Is it just a small little travel?
Yeah, you use whatever, yeah.
What do you think about, or how do you think about all of the foreground and all the detail that you put in with all the water lines, but if your focal point is in the midground, what's your thought process on not over competing with the foreground?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's probably because it gets down to edges. Keep your crisper edges like where your focal point is, and a little softer edges where you don't want attention. Also tone is like neutralize your tones and have your more intense tones at your focal point, and that's where I would, like right now, I intend to have boats and things on top of that. And when I say boats, I don't mean, they said they're going to be cool shades and marks that are going horizontal that'll compete with those verticals. And I'll keep trying to reinforce this area. And then at some point, I'll say, well, could I go warmer with all this? And would that be too much? But it might be something I want to consider. Yes?
A little while ago, you mentioned that you put on the paper some blue, some pale yellow, and something. Was that on the fresh paper before you did anything?
Yeah.
And you let it dry?
Yeah. So it dries back to flat. Some people do it, it's more obvious, and mine is just hardly there. But I just kind of like the idea that the pigments are there somewhere. And it knocks down a little bit of the sizing that the fresh piece of paper is going to have. So it's a little more receptive, without anything.
The whole paper or just?
Yeah, the whole paper. Right. Black. Anybody else? Is there a question up here? No? Okay. Yes?
Over the years, has your paint style changed in any way?
Yeah,
How?
it has. Maybe I could show you something. Let's see. Well, on this one, I think, does it? It doesn't record. No, it doesn't work. Well, I think I've gotten less, because of the architecture, I felt like I have to do it, with some fidelity to the colors and things like that, without thinking about, it's not about the buildings, it's about painting, it's about the painting you're working with. So making your color choices, and I've got this is a, I know you can't see this.
Maybe you can roll it up closer to the camera.
Well, I think it's because it's digital. It's digital is reading digital, and it's doing some kind of wacky solar thing. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it tends to get muddier and things like that. And my professional work was a little more. It's detailed, of course, because the architect wants to see everything that he did. Got references here. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna lose one here. Yeah, it's changed a bit. It's probably, I'm letting edges do more things with it. My edges used to be pretty consistent, but I could draw a lot, so I had a lot more detail. And so now I'm thinking about editing all the detail out. And people that I really admire whose work is like Joseph Zbogevich out of Australia, Chen Chong-wei out of Taiwan. Really like he's restrained but great on edges, and both those guys could paint a parking lot at Walmart and do a beautiful job. You know, it's just because they're celebrating the material. The paint is so beautiful the way they handle it. I'm really like obviously John Singer Sargent, somebody that I'm drawn to, and basically there's a guy named Cyril Ferry who's an architectural illustrator. Died a century ago, but that person had a feel for design. You know, and I could do a whole history of watercolor painting presentation, which would be fun, but I'm sorry I don't have the references with me. But I would say that to your question about the style changing, yeah, I think style is always changing. I hate to be in a situation as a professional painter where you have to hang your hat on some particular look that you've created, that I identify with you, or I identify with that palette. Like I see a lot of people doing gray paintings now and not doing much color because it's easier to work with value rather than trying to work all the colors. But I'm kind of finding that's great as a tonalist exercise, but it's, you know, you've got all these things. They're ground from the earth. They came from mud, and why do you want to like send them back to mud? And you know, they want to like be out there. And so thanks for asking that. I hope I keep changing. You know, and discover new things. And I think, you know, coming to an exhibit like this, and I see what other people are doing, I find whole nother worlds of exploration with this fascinating medium of watercolor. And the intensity of color that I'm seeing up in the exhibit is fantastic. So I think if you are in the exhibit, or if you are been applying to exhibits, like there's so much to learn by doing that. And we're glad that we have organizations that foster and encourage these kind of collective exhibits. So,
Can you show us your water technique you were going to do?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Your water. You finish the water.
I'll finish the water. All right. Let's finish the water. Yes, it's ready. Thanks. And I want to put these on a little closer together back in here, and then spray them out a little bit. There's a kind of a methodical dumbness to what I'm doing right now, which is this, well, like that. And I'm not satisfied with that being the way I want it to look. I think that what I want to do is try to, if I have these boats, is try to somehow marry them to the surface of the water. We'll see what that does. I don't know. See, it might be something I could embellish a little bit, but there's something going on there. Like this thing here, that needs to be doing something that relates to that. And I'm not convinced of any of this right now that's doing it. So it's kind of a thing with the ripple in the water is it's sort of reflecting away from you, on top of you, and towards you. So there's usually about 3 facets to every ripple. And so you kind of find out what are those, one of those aspects to it. Yes.
As the judge of this show, or any show, how much does your own style of painting influence your choices of judging a show?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I look at it like this. I don't look at the style so much as I try to decipher what is the problem that artist is trying to solve, and how well did they solve it. If it's realism, then I try to say that's what they're trying to solve. They want to get that, verisimilitude. It looks like real life kind of a thing. So how well did they do that? If it's a celebration of just color, then I just say, well, how well did they do that? And style comes in a little bit later, I think. I lean towards landscape painters and plein air type stuff, but a lot of exhibits are studio work. This one in particular. So I try to think too of design. Is it good design, and that's important. Like if you're going to do a photograph, make it a good photograph. Study photography, and then you've got something to start with. Like good design and everything else, and then your ability to render it won't be hampered by anything else other than that's what you want to be judged on, is your skill, with painting. If you're an abstract painter, and there's not very many in the show, but you look at, again, the design, I look at sort of the approach to why use a watercolor, and would something else work better in what you're doing? If it seems to me that the watercolor is working really well, then I think, success. That was a good choice. So I'd have to judge it on that. I couldn't. It's not fair to say how believable it looks like in that sense. I like work of, say, Don Kingman or Frank Webb, is that they're like, it's not that architectural style of a boathouse, but it's the spirit of the boathouse. And so then you look at the other elements of you know who I'm talking about, Frank Webb?
I do not.
Okay. Good person to look up. I think he's passed away recently. But Don Kingman's another one. He's from the 50s and 60s illustrator. What's another example? I think in a lot of cases I just have to say, it's like, well, I'm probably not qualified to evaluate this person's painting, but I just do the best I can with those elements of design, composition, and anything. What was your problem and how did you solve it? And I think every painter has to establish a problem. Like me, how do I do this water? I don't know how to do it. How do I do the other things? Did I succeed? Did I fail? Was it close?
Also, there are monetary values given on many of the awards. How do you determine that? Do you just line them up from the lowest to the highest and give them out that way?
Well, we have two juries, so we have points that we give them, and then you add up the points. And a lot of times there's a lot of agreement, and sometimes there's some disagreement. So.
But only two judges, right?
In this case, sometimes there's more in other events, and sometimes there's one. And sometimes, you do see a similarity between the top awards and the style of the judge. And I think that's a shame that it's that way. Most really good judges, I think, have a broad education on different styles and different painting and different things. And I don't have the vanity of like, it doesn't, this is my kind of work.
Do you look at each individual painting and critique it in order to get your points? You're talking about that of the score.
Yeah.
Is each individual painting scored on, for example, composition, use of color, appropriateness of watercolor? Are they all separate and laid out?
No, not like that. Every judge has their own criteria. It's just between 0 and 5. What would you do? So, all right.
I was just wondering. Thank you.
Okay. Well,
I hope you've had a chance to enjoy the exhibit upstairs. If you have not, please, it's open until I believe 5. If not, please come up and view it. And it's open until August 2nd, okay? So, glad you came. Thank you.
right. Thank you very much.
You can leave everything here
Okay.
because it's going to be locked.
Good.
And you can take what you want and just call it good. And then back here, like 5 o'clock.
I have a short time.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, looks great. That looks so much better now.
I'm looking forward to tonight.
The colors look so different on the monitor. This monitor is different from that monitor. And to see it, yeah, I needed to come up to see the finished.
The color is such a sensitive thing. Yeah, it's a little more burnt on that.
You've
but-
got a lot more sensitivity in your color in reality.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was very interesting. Thank you.
Very nice job. Enjoyed that.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
I have a dagger. I've never used it much, but I mean, you got a beautiful impressionistic style. And it's a dagger brush.
Yeah.
It's a yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you kind of lead to the sort of mark making that sort of brush gives you.
Yeah.
I play with every brush they make, and I mean sometimes they just stay. I don't do much. But,
Good job.
Oh, thanks. I hope that you got something out of it. I'm always like, this isn't going to go well. I don't know what's going to happen. You're taking on too much. You should have just done like a.
And I like how you did it from the picture. You didn't reverse it, and put your own thoughts on it.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing for me. I mean, the people.
Yeah, you can keep going with that, as far as you want to, until you just get this like blob of ants, and then your thing is like, that's not really what I want. But
First show the thing about that, I see what I do. But you do.
and then if you do, you can do like just pick out like 4 individuals, and they're in there. Then the eye will sort of spread that out over the whole group, and you say, oh, there's a head, there's a this, there's a that.
But it's like you said many times in describing the work, it's the feeling. Not just the little stroke, but it's the feeling. The building, the people, the body, the architecture, the foliage, and it has a nice feeling.
Well, thank you. Nice. Nice to do it. I think there's some marks. They work, and sometimes as well, you came in too late in the timing, and there's just an edge that doesn't look like it belongs there, or it's floating above the surface, and so it's always a challenge. It's always a timing, listening thing. And oil painters don't know how good they have it.
They need to tell you what they need.
Yes, that's exactly right. The painting is saying.
A lot of people tell me that watercolor is so hard you can't fix it. I used to do retouching.
and then once you're done,
I fix them if I need to. If I see something that's wrong, I'll figure out a way to fix it and make it better. If you don't get it the first time, you can still.
Unless it's like in a big wash, if you have any little thing, a bead of sweat drops on it, it's like, it's done. That's good.
Unless you
There.
use those like continuous spray bottles and you mix it reactivates everything and you use a fan brush and fill in the hole. I was doing a demo and someone brought their painting over and like I was like, what are you doing bringing your painting over here? But he's fixed it. Yeah.
Little things you can do.
Little tricks. But
Good to know. I think, sometimes it just turns into something, the bird, the this, the that, the balloon.
I was curious to know what your straight line tool is. I can't make a straight line for the life of me. And every once in a while I really need one.
You need to make a straight line with your brush.
Yeah, I do animals, so like I'm never ready. But every once in a while I have like
You ever take a ruler and set it at an angle and then take your
Oh, I didn't do an angle because I tried the ruler, but sometimes it soaks under and then it's a big blob.
It's tedious.
You could do a mall stick too. Yeah, okay.
I'm curious too.
Oh, he does have a ruler.
Yeah, I
with
think,
the
yeah.
sharp
It's, you take this, your fingernail, and these are architect scales, and you just run that down like that groove. You take the ferrule of the brush, and
That's cool.
you place
It's the most
place it there. You line it up how you want to do it,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, genius. My in-laws are like, it's 30
Yep.
from my dad. Wow, awesome.
you can practice that. So for, for this thing here, I think it's nice to have just a few indications
Yeah,
of a sound vertical line instead of like that.
Nice.
yeah.
You could use a brush that big, but I think again you can waver it somewhat into like that works because a little flat area here you can. That's kind of what it's handy.
Yeah,
with that.
yeah,
For
that's
that.
great.
You don't need a
Thanks.
long one. You just
Right.
accidentally sit on it, and then you have your perfect size.
Good question. Good
And
solution.
if you don't have that, then you find just a stick or something, anything you can like roll on the edge that you can just put that on the paper and then
Yeah.
run it past. Works
All
pretty
right.
well.
Great,
Yeah.
thanks.
Great job.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in being here on
Yeah,
a beautiful
yeah.
day.
Yeah, well.
This is how you spend it.
But this is what we can do. Yep, exactly. We appreciate it. Well, we'll see you. Will you be there tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Caitlin,
Caitlin,
yeah.
pleasure
I
to
did the
meet you,
horse
Stewart.
portrait. Yeah. Jessica.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. And we'll be there tomorrow. Are you in the workshop at all? Or?
No, we've got life back home. Kids
life,
calling our names. We're both like, we can't even go away for a day and a half without the kids calling.
Mine are, well, yeah, I suppose.
Yours are
They're
all-
on the
yours are-
house,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I've got another show next weekend.
Well, I feel for you, but you wouldn't trade it for anything, would you?
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly not. And so it's good. They get to
What's
see
a-
us,
what's
you
a
know.
Katie Witch?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming here and participating, asking questions.
That's what watercolor is all about. That style. That's the style.
Hey. All right. I've got what is it? A convert.
I went that way. Irving Shapiro.
Sure.
Irving Shapiro. He was my mentor at the school. He's what sold me on that style.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very good.
I love looking at paintings like that, and like I said, I was at a Sargent exhibit in Brooklyn Museum of Art a couple of years ago, and 3 galleries around. It's a small watercolor like this of those quarry paintings, and it's mostly white, just a white paper. But I could say, oh, I got to get down there. I got to see what that is, because it was just a few beautiful marks in the right place, and it's like, that's the magic, It's just a magical illusion. That's great. Anyway,
See ya.
all right. See you tonight.
Thanks,
You do it.
Okay, I'll shut you down here. We're gonna
Yeah,
leave it
let's-
exactly the way you,
I think it's beer 30, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, everybody's getting ready to get to dinner here. You want the dinner, I know.
Well, that's God. How was that? Was that all right?
Yeah, everybody was very positive, yeah. Nicely done.
Good.
I'll have
I can
different
think. No, I
ones.
wish I had more references of this and that, just different things. And then I like this setup.
It seems to work. People are happy. Yeah. And you're, this is their first time trying it. We made a jump, huge jump. We had the mirror overhead and another camera. And so we invested in better cameras this year and brought the monitors.
Oh yeah, that's really nice. That was like the color correction was really good. Yeah. All right. Great.
Before 7.
Yeah. No
I will
cleanup.
have new lights for you tomorrow. These are Carrie's. I'll check in with her to make sure we get them to her, but I'll have a different set of lights, but they should be very similar.
Okay.
And you don't have to clean up today because you're coming back Monday morning, right? Or tomorrow afternoon to set up probably.
I guess tomorrow afternoon, it's Sunday?
Yeah. Unless if you're ready, you're ready. But there is a scheduled time to set up tomorrow if you care to. If you don't care to, it's on you. Yeah.
Wow, I mean, I don't think I have that much set up. We're going to do a bunch of exercises and based on the principles that I put out, and then